Hello everyone and welcome to today's video. Today we're going to be reviewing and kind of explaining and dissecting, and I kind of want to go more in depth with this review because I kind of have a lot of lingering thoughts that I kind of want to let out and maybe kind of see what you guys think as well. And just so you know, there will be spoilers, so if you have not seen the film, I would say go check it out and then come back here and let us know what you thought. So let's talk about the plot of this film. So pretty much there's this married couple and the husband is an author, and he ends up writing a book about like this cult that followed this leader and they all committed suicide. And there was only one survivor, and it was this female named Grace. And he ends up falling for her and then dating her and then marrying her, pretty much just leaving the wife for her. And they have two kids together, the wife and the husband. Pretty much he brings the wife in and tells her that he wants to marry Grace, which leads her to, who's already, you already can kind of see is barely holding it together within the opening scene of her just kind of being in the bathroom and breaking down and crying. She ends up killing herself, which was really unexpected. It kind of shocked the whole theater because up until this point, there's nothing that's really weird or crazy has gone on. And within like 2 seconds, she just puts a gun in her mouth and shoots herself. So that was incredibly unexpected. And I think it was one of the highlights of the film because it kind of introduces this aspect of like, yeah, anybody can die at any moment and it could be really brutal. So it introduces that, and you kind of like have that scene in your head throughout the film because you don't know what's really going to happen. So pretty much the kids blame Grace for their mother's death. There's a son and a daughter. They blame Grace, and the dad wants them to kind of like her. So it seems like it was an annual trip to go in December around Christmas time to this lodge and spend time as a family. But now the kids don't want to do it now that the mom's committed suicide, and they don't like Grace. They blame Grace for their mother's death. Eventually they decide that they will go, and the father leaves to go to work, and leaving Grace and the kids there. And that's kind of where the film starts to pick up. Now, one of my gripes with this movie, kind of starts right here. First off, why would the father leave his kids with a girl who was a part of a cult that obviously isn't necessarily like fully well mentally? And it is brought up in the film that she is trying to get away from her past in a way. And it just doesn't make any sense to me that a father would leave his two kids for multiple days with this girl who isn't fully right mentally in the head. And that's kind of where one of my biggest gripes comes into play. Next that follows is pretty much after a few days, the kids put a sleeping pill in her drink and she passes out. And this isn't revealed then, but she pretty much goes to sleep. They take all the stuff around the house and put it underneath, like in the basement or whatever. And none of this information is given. She starts to lose her mind because she does have these pills that she hides from the husband, which is another big thing that I just remembered that doesn't make any sense. Why would he show her and give her the pin to a gun? There's a revolver and it's in a safe, and he shows her the pin and everything, and he goes shooting with her. And so she's alone in the house with these kids. She has access to a gun, which eventually later on in the film ends up being a big thing with her killing someone. And I just don't understand what was going through this father's head. Now, pretty much as this film progresses, things get weirder and weirder. The film essentially focuses on Grace and her like seeing these sequence of events of, like she's in the shower and then the words mom gets painted on, and then later on the words repent, which is in a video that she recorded with all these suicides. And the kids end up watching that video of when she was within that cult. And repent is a word that gets repeated a lot within the video that the cult leader says. And the kids have like a speaker of the video playing in the attic, which when she hears this, she thinks she's going crazy because one, she doesn't have her pills, and two, all her past is starting to resurface when she's alone kind of in this lodge. So the whole thing, as this film starts to progress, they convince her that they're in purgatory and that they died before they pretty much just drug her. They had a heater, and the boy pretty much says that maybe they all died when the heater let out gas or caught the place on fire. And they even do things like do like a photo of like in memory and like a news article saying that they died, which also is something that I kind of have a problem with, because like these are just kids. Like, okay, maybe this is one of the things that I can suspend my disbelief in, with them, like, using Photoshop in a way and making their own deaths. It to just kind of convince her that it's real and that they all did actually die and they're stuck in this purgatory, which is the premise I wish they would have went with, other than this twist that the kids planned this entire scheme and everything worked out perfectly. And it just didn't, I don't know. It just, there's some things in this film that just didn't make any sense to me. So eventually we get to the point where the kids reveal to her that it was all kind of a joke, a prank in a way, after her dog dies. And at that point, she just goes full blown crazy. She's convinced that they're in purgatory. One of the kids actually hangs himself, which was, it pulls off the illusion that he hangs himself, but he really didn't. That they're actually all dead and they can't die. So now that she has that in her head and she's trying to repent her sins, so she like puts her feet on these burning pieces of woods, and the kids witness it and they go hide in the attic. And then the dad sees this dollhouse where it's like they're set up unusually, the dolls, and he begins to worry, even though the kids have been talking to the dad until their phones died and they couldn't restart the generator. So the dad's gone a few days without talking to the kids or the Grace, which also kind of like, at that point, after a few days go by, you would think that he would go to the cabin, because Grace, someone who was a part of a cult where there was multiple deaths around her, who isn't right in the head, is watching his two kids, and he hasn't heard from him in multiple days after he's tried calling and texting. So that's also just doesn't make sense to me. But he ends up driving out all the way over there. Gets there, Grace has completely lost her mind at this point, and she's walking around with a gun and telling them to repent their sins. And eventually she ends up killing the dad. The kids try to get away in the car that the dad came in, but they couldn't. And the next scene is them sitting all at a table, and she's just singing a song. And the revolver is just sitting right across the table from them, which makes me think, like, these kids are literally about to die. Like, at this point, they might as well just try to do any little thing that they can to try to get out of this situation. And they don't. So she's singing this song, and she ends up putting this tape around their mouth that says sin, which everyone who committed suicide in the cult had. They had sin, a piece of tape around their mouth that said sin on it. And the last shot is of the revolver, which is also in the trailer, which kind of just doesn't make any sense to me. Like, why give that last shot in the trailer? Amazing Spider-Man 2 did that as well. I just don't get it. But it kind of just gets left for interpretation that pretty much she kills the kids and herself. And yeah, this film is a mixed bag for me. I wish it didn't go the route that it did with the kids pulling this big prank. It just seems so unbelievable. You already have to suspend your disbelief with the dad, leaving the kids there with Grace, and what father would do that. But there's cool things to be had in this film, cool concepts, things that they did right and wrong. I wish they would have developed a purgatory thing where they actually all did die and they're stuck in this purgatory, how they would go about that. Overall, though, I would not watch this movie again. It's hard for me to rate this film because I just don't know where I really land on it. I would give it a 2 out of 5 because I would not watch it again. I didn't like the twist, and it was shot beautifully. But other than that, I would say watch it. Watch it if you're a big fan of horror films. And I'm a huge fan of horror, so I give every horror film a chance. If you're a big fan of horror movies, I would say go watch it. It's not scary per se, but it's definitely a suspenseful thriller. And if you already have watched it, and let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Kind of what was your thoughts on the movie? How did you feel about the big twist at the end? And please like, share, subscribe, and we'll see you guys all in the next video.